it's Anita Ross here, author, speaker, and self-love coach, bringing you this week's workshop entitled, You Are More Than Your Financial Status. And of course, I'm going to have a self-love spin on that. You see, we're moving into the holiday season, and some of us have been saving up our money for a long time to shower our loved ones with gifts, to make sure we have amazing meals at the table. And some of us are looking at our money like, how am I going to make it all work this year? How am I going to have an amazing holiday? And the truth is, when our money situation is good, then it's a fun time. We're feeling good about ourselves. But when our money situation is not good, it can be a challenging time. And we don't feel good about ourselves. We feel inadequate at times. Well, our finances are going to fluctuate. Our circumstances are going to fluctuate, right? We might have an unexpected expense. We might have financial adversity. We might lose our job. You name it. All the changes that happen. But somewhere along the line, us human beings have picked up this notion that our financial status, our money situation, is somehow linked to our worth. But today, I want to really debunk that notion. Because the truth is that our worth does not change. We were born worthy of the life of our dreams, the holiday of our dreams, and that doesn't change, no matter what circumstances we're living through. Yeah? And so I really want to bring this home today, and I want to share with you some powerful tips for how to navigate any financial condition, making powerful, authentic choices that serve your highest good. Does that sound good? All right, here we go. I want to start by sharing a story that really brings this all together for me. This is how I learned all the things I'm going to share with you today. And it started when I made the decision to leave my well-paying job in corporate America, where I was receiving paychecks every 2 weeks that covered all the bills and then some. And it was safe and it was secure. I left to go do what I love, being an author, being a speaker, being a life coach. But when you're in the world of entrepreneurial business, you really don't know when your next paycheck is coming. And my husband had gotten a new job. It was part-time, and so he was still doing his entrepreneurial hustle, and we're living in a new state. We had a lot going on. But to add to that, 2 weeks later, after leaving that job, I found out that we were pregnant with our first child. Wow. I had this beautiful 90-day plan on when I was going to launch all these services and things that I was going to do in my business, and boy, was that shattered. I realized that this time in my life was quickly becoming about raising this baby and evolving into the mother it takes to raise her. But to add to that, as if that wasn't enough of a surprise, and it was an exciting one, I had these 2 properties that I owned in Florida that were very hard to sell because of the economic situation in our country at the time. And so I had these renters. One was a young single mother that I remember risking because you're supposed to do these credit checks and all these things. And she said she didn't have that because she was coming out of a domestic violence relationship. And I wanted to help. And so I said, no worries, you're in. And then another was another young family with 2 young children that I wanted to help as well. But at the same time, and they had been there for a little while, but at the same time, they let me know that they were going to move. And it became quickly a lot of financial burden on our very young family. And I remember being pregnant and moving into the stage where after I had the baby and I was like, how do I keep up with these mortgage payments? And creditors were calling me and I was doing all that I can. I got temp jobs, 9 months pregnant, working, and it was so hard on my body. And finally, I had to make a decision. Was I going to focus on raising my beautiful baby? Or was I going to try to keep up with these mortgages? And again, the time in my life, I was slowing down, and it was quickly becoming about tending to my body and tending to my child. But I had these thoughts in my head because creditors were treating me terribly. They were calling me, being mean, and making me feel irresponsible. And I had these thoughts in my head. What about being a role model to my child, about being financially responsible? And it just made me feel so bad about myself. People were treating me bad. I remember going from people saying, buy these homes, you have the credit, you're doing amazing, rolling out the red carpet for me, to treating me just horribly. It made me feel bad about myself. But I'll tell you one thing that made it crystal clear for me. I looked into my baby girl's eyes, and I knew what was true for me. It was time to raise her and do what I can for my new business and building my business. But it was time for me to get real focused on being a mother. The financial fallout. There was a financial fallout, right? I ended up losing those 2 properties and, bad credit and all those things. I mean, they didn't know that I had, let in a young mother. They didn't know that I was helping someone escape domestic violence. They didn't know that I was moving careers to go help people love themselves and live from their place of worth and really change the world. They didn't know that, and they didn't care. So the one thing that I found that was really, really missing out of this whole conversation on financial status was that it takes into, often the way we see it in this society, does not take into account our character, right? Because there are some typical ways that we look at finances, right? And I don't need you to take notes on this. You can pull this up on anywhere online or any financial resource. But we tend to look at it from this perspective of quantitative numbers, right? We look at our net worth, right? How much money we have, how much debt we have. We tend to look at it from the perspective of liabilities. We tend to look at it from this perspective of assets. How many things do we own? How much income do we have coming in from our job? All of these quantitative measures. But they don't take into account the qualitative, right? That you could be a really good person and are moving through some set of circumstances that are challenging, right? And so we get this notion that our financial status has something to do with our worth. And you couple that with this fact that our society is very, very much into highlighting celebrities, and being rich means being happy, or we applaud the rich and scorn the poor. I mean, that's kind of how our society is set up. And it doesn't work for us. It doesn't work for us. Every baby that is born in this world is born worthy of living their dreams. And so one of the things that really occurred to me is that I get to redefine this idea of financial status. We got to move away from this quantitative net worth, assets, liabilities. How about credit score? That's one I didn't mention. I got to tell you, during that time when I was just leaving my nice paying job, I had a score of over 800, a credit score of over 800, which was exceptional. And then by the end, it was totally not that. But this idea of this credit score is that we're like moving through life trying to build our credit, and it's really based on our spending ability, right? So this idea that we got to make money and that we got to spend money in order to be credit worthy. It's just kind of like, eh. Now, I understand that there is a need to take a look at quantitative measures, but it is not the whole picture. And that's the part. That's the part that can make us feel bad because we think it's the whole thing, right? But it's not. And so I came up with this new definition for financial status that's more inclusive to the whole picture. So let me give that to you. A thriving financial status means having purpose-driven income that affords you a life filled with your true desires. I want to share that again. A thriving financial status means having purpose-driven income that affords you a life filled with your true desires. What are your true desires? Your true desires are people, experiences, or things that you bring into your life because they align with who you are. They align with your authentic self. Okay? So this idea that our financial status can bring into our life all that we really, really want, truly want, not like trying to keep up with the Joneses, not trying to keep somebody in our life that costs us a lot of money. You ever have one of those people? That this is what this is really truly about. That definition aligns with our worth, our inner worth, our innate worth. Yeah? So when you have that definition, then there are just really two questions you want to ask yourself. Let me give you those two questions. The first one is, why do you want money? And then the second one is, how do you make your money? Ooh, what a different paradigm. Yeah? So you mean that I'm included in this configuration? I'm included in this analysis? It's not just quantitative? You can take in my qualities, my character, who I am, and what I want? Okay. Now I can get with that. I can sink my teeth into that. And again, crunching numbers, having a budget, making sure you're spending correctly is part of the pie, but it's a piece of it. Okay? So that part is important. I am a numbers person. I used to be an engineer. I just crunched numbers. And it's important, but it is not attached to your worth. Okay? That part is like management of your finances, but it's not attached to your worth. So redefining our financial status has us asking these two questions. Why do you want money? And how do you make your money? So let's talk about those a little bit. Why do you want money? This is where you want to make sure you're operating authentically. Because oftentimes we're making decisions on what society thinks we should have, or society says how we should do, right? I can't tell you how many times there were years that my husband and I looked at each other and said, hey, you know what? Let's make sure we get the kids gifts, but because money is tight, we gotta do something nice for each other, right? But let's try to make sure we can eke out something for the children, because times can be rough, yeah. And so we want to make sure we're not influenced by this idea of like, no, we're supposed to shower each other with gifts no matter what at the holiday season. That's the way it is. Okay, we're supposed to shower with gifts for our loved ones in a way that is not to our detriment, in a way that's not going to hurt us. Because overspending, it causes trouble down the line. That can be no fun. It can almost be painful at times. Yeah? Climbing out of that hole. So when you're talking about what do you want your money for, you want to weed out the beliefs that are erroneous, that are based on societal pressures or how we should be. All the shoulds, we want to take those out. We want to make sure that we're operating authentically. What is real for you? Because some of the reasons is like, one, to be like someone else because we compare what they have to what we have or don't have. To prove something. You ever like, well, I'm going to show them. that I'm going to make the money or have the car or have the status, if you will, right? Sometimes we want to be influential, which is interesting because in the society, again, the celebrities in our society or the people who have a lot of influence tend to have a lot of money, right? But you want to be influential in a way that is authentic for you, in a way that's meaningful for you. And usually that starts in influencing ourselves, but then influencing our loved ones. And then as we influence our loved ones, it magnifies. But you want to make sure that the voice you have, you're using it in a way that you want it. And you don't have to have money to do that. It would be nice if you have a vision, right? I always talk about my vision is to impact millions of people. Well, at some point that gets to be funded, right? If I want a bunch of my books in people's hands, then I get to purchase those books and sell them, right? So at some point it does take money, right? But it has to be authentic. Not everybody wants to write books and sell them. Not everybody wants to do things that cost money. Some people want simply to be able to love on their people, influence their people, or guide them in a way that is authentic, that is meaningful, that is powerful. So you really want to be in tune with what's true for you. One of the things that I learned a long time ago is that money can create freedom, right? As far as doing things that you love to do, if you want to travel, if you want to, if you've banked enough money to not have to have a certain job, it can create freedom. But I gotta tell you, the freedom starts within here first. Once you understand your worth and you choose to live from that place, there's a lot of freedom that gets created from that. Okay, so money is one of the tools, but the inner work is where it starts. All right. So I'm just sharing some of the examples as to why do we want money? But at the end of the day, you get to figure that out. Right? And then the other question that we want to ask ourselves is, how do we make the money? Are you passionate about what you're doing to make the money? Is it purposeful for you? And does it serve a greater purpose? All right. I gotta tell you that even though I left that wonderfully paying job to go do what I know my purpose is, I never looked back. As scary as some of our financial times got, I never looked back. Because there really is nothing like living a fulfilled purpose and bringing in income from that. Like, as far as career-wise, there's nothing like it. So when you have that and you happen upon it, you want to hold tight. I know that I personally wake up every day excited about what I do. And so I know that the financial piece will come. Okay? So how do you make the money? You want to put some more thought into that. Because sometimes we're in the wrong lane. You ever hear that? You're in the wrong lane. What are you doing here? You have these gifts. You have these skills. You're amazing at this. What are you doing that for? The universe will respond to you owning that purpose, to you being passionate about what you're doing to make money. It's like attractive. It grows. And so the money tends to grow. So I want to take a look at these 5 powerful tips for owning and loving your authentic self through any financial condition. 5 powerful tips for owning and loving yourself through any financial condition. Okay? The first one is take ownership of your financial results. Take ownership of your financial results. Okay? With confidence. Sometimes we land in a set of circumstances that are hard, that seem outside of our control. But the first step is always to kind of take a look at where you're at and own it. Another way of looking at it is have what you have. If you have resistance to it and you're like upset and mad at yourself and feeling bad, it won't allow you to move forward powerfully. So if you take ownership of your financial results, whether they're good, not so good, it's your starting point. It's your starting point. It's your what we call a baseline. Okay? And once you take ownership, you can only build on that. All right? Also, something that happens in this step is that we realize, perhaps I want more for myself. Perhaps I want more for my loved ones. That reality can set in that I'm not quite living authentically. I want more. Not from a money substance perspective only, but I want to live more of who I am. I want to live more of my dreams. I want to model that for my children or for my loved ones, whomever's in my life. Okay? That's the step where it really happens. It's almost like taking stock of where you are now and owning that so that you can press forward. Okay? Step two is create purpose-driven income. Right? So this is a piece of that definition of financial status. Create purpose-driven income. Your passion will surpass any disappointments. Okay? Once again, I never quite have reached the amount of money that I made when I was working as an engineering advisor, at least not yet. My plan is to. I'm moving and working on that. But I've never been disappointed in that I wanted to go back. I know what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to do. Now, I've had some challenging times. There were some dark times that I was like, am I meant to do this? Is this mine to do? Because finances were not aligning. So I can give you information on how to redirect. Yeah? I can give you information on how to redirect. And I'll give you a great example. When 2020 started, 2020 has been something else. But when 2020 started, I was really in a stuck place in my career. My children are growing up. They're all in school full time. And I was trying to figure out, well, they're getting more and more expensive. We're getting closer and closer eventually to them having to go to college. And my income wasn't where I wanted it to be. And it was challenging. Like I was having self-doubt about myself. I was starting to feel bad. But I realized two things. One was that I had these beliefs that were competing with each other. One was that if I work more, I'll be away from my children. And my home will fall apart because I'm the one that really holds home together. And the other one was that, if I'm away from my children, something might happen to them, that they're not safe. And that was very important to me as well. So at the beginning of 2020, remember, before shelter in place happened, I had made the decision to start building my business more from home and not go out and do speaking engagements as much. Let that be a secondary way of making income. But how can I build my clientele? How can I do online webinars? Can you believe that? And then right when shelter in place happened, I was prepared. I can't tell you if I would have been prepared if I hadn't already had that thought. So I say all this to say that when you commit to your purpose, not only does it surpass all disappointments, but you'll really start seeing things happen that come in support of that. Because you're doing things to put love into the world, because you're doing things that are meaningful and helping people. Again, the voice and how far it goes, that's on you. Not everybody wants to impact millions, and that's okay. But I want to tell you, happy, fulfilled, purpose-filled people are changing the world. We gotta hit critical mass of people who are living their purpose and feeling fulfilled, because happy people make happy people. And happy people don't hurt people. Happy people do not hurt people. And that's the end game. That's the end game. So the next step is spend your money authentically. What it is, and we spent some time on this, what is it that you really want? Why do you spend your money? Do you want to care for your loved ones? Do you want to shower your loved ones? Do you feel it's time to take care of your parents? Do you feel, you want to pay for your children's college and whatever it is, but make sure it's authentic for you. Not based on what other people think you should have or what society says you should have, but what's authentic for you, what's real for you. Okay? And again, as you move into this holiday season, keep that in mind, because you want to strike a balance. You don't want to put yourself out and create a detrimental situation, but you might want to demonstrate to your loved ones that you love them, right? So strike that balance. Be authentic. Understand that you're worthy of an amazing holiday, but you're also worthy of moving through that transition, the aftermath, if you will, of the holidays in a safe, sound, and positive way. Okay? So that third step was spend your money authentically. The fourth one is get yourself off automatic, right? To the point where human beings, we have auto pay, and sometimes we don't even know what's coming out of our accounts. Take a look at, where is your money going? Where is my money going? Is it in fact going to what the things that I want authentically? It might require you to take a look at all of that and reassess it. All right? So get yourself off automatic. And then the fifth step, if you will, is to know that money is supplementary to your life. It is meant to add to your amazing life, to make your life that much greater. Okay? But it is not who you are. And making sure that you understand that distinction at all times is really important. It's really important. You want to be able to enjoy money and the freedom that it brings, as I talked about, the freedom that it does bring. But it's going to take all of those steps to have it align with the life of your dreams in a powerful way. So those are steps that can move you through any financial condition. Stay the course. Do the work. Find that purpose. Land it. Find a way to bring in income doing your purpose. Find a way to ensure that the money that you spend is authentic and serves your highest good and that of your loved ones. And you can move through any financial condition that comes your way. And that's what I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed that.